Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got it!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30. He's going to go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome aboard for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday, January 25th, in a snowy day. Not sure where you are, but definitely we've got the snow falling here in the Bloomington area. Hope your day is starting out well. It's the midway point. We got a lot to get to. On the program today, Florida Atlantic head coach Dusty May, former IU manager, has got the Owls, man. They are ranked and rolling in one of the top records in the country. So looking forward to talking to Dusty. We had him on at the start of the season. So it was good luck. I'm going to remind him of that. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star will join us. We'll catch up and see where high school sports are right now. I know that the girls, they did the sectional pairings already. And I was wondering what impact when you have a college team that's successful like IU is right now, what that does on the high schools, if that trickles down any. Rick Bozich, the Hall of Famer, and by Hall of Famer, double Hall of Famer now. He's joining the I think that's Indiana Sports Writers and Sportscasters Association Hall of Fame he's going into now. I just saw that. Thank you, Jennifer, for sending that. BobKnight.com. Going to talk about that. Saw that come out yesterday and some people asking about that and the legitimacy of that, and talk to the Knight family, and it is the official account of Bob Knight. It has a Twitter account even, at Bob Knight Legacy. We'll talk about that. Scott Rowland goes to the Hall of Fame, the only player selected by the writers to go to the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that. Lots to get to on that. Indiana men's basketball plays tonight, of course, at what seems like forever away, 9 o'clock versus Minnesota. Rick Bozich will help us preview that. So we'll look forward to that as well. Plenty to get to. Hope everybody's doing well. Appreciate everybody hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Make sure you go to AndyMooreHonda.com for all the greatest deals in new and used vehicles, as well as Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club. Go to MyWowNetwork.com and sign up for their Wow Club. Start earning Wow rewards today to great places like BB's Market, who is your butcher, caterer, baker. No matter what you need, wherever you live, they have it all and lots more. Looking forward to being out there this Friday. Again, check out Chef JD, see how he's doing. No snow today. Who said that? My computer keeps rolling. I hate this stupid roller thing on here, but yeah, we've got plenty of snow here. For those of you that aren't down south, like Kevin down in Jeffersonville, I'm not sure. Fred in Easton, Pennsylvania. Yes, sir.
Down
John?
here in the southern portion of the state, we didn't get any of the white stuff.
Really? It's still coming here. I mean, I saw it. I watched it. I heard it last night. It sounded like rain at first, but and then I looked out and I'm like, oh, it looks like sleet. And then
Yeah, that's all we got was a bunch of nasty rain.
Fred pointing out North Carolina wins over Syracuse last night. Yeah, I was watching that game. That was a tight game. There were several games last night. Penn State gets manhandled by Rutgers 65-45, which Rutgers has only allowed, they don't allow more than 50 points very often. Their defense is tight. tight. Yes, it was, Fred. Great to see Scott in. Hopefully going to try to have him on the program at some point soon. I'm sure he's doing everybody's trying to get him right now. I did see an interview with him on the Major League Baseball Network. That was absolutely tremendous. I've never seen him. I've spoken to him several times. Saw him last Sunday, as a matter of fact. Scott goes to a lot of the Indiana University basketball games. Of course, he is a consultant for the IU baseball team. He lives actually kind of catty corner to where we do the studio or do the show from the studio here. Not very far away, but super, super great guy. 76% of the vote. He made it by 5 votes. 5 votes is what got him in. A couple of unique things about it. He had the lowest the debut voting total, which was 10%, to ever make it into the Hall of Fame. He started his first year of eligibility 6 years ago. He received 10% of the vote, which is twice as much as the 5% needed to stay on the ballot. But he only received 10% of the vote. 6 years later, he's in the Hall of Fame. That is the biggest margin of someone elected into the Hall of Fame ever. Duke Snyder, I think, is next. But just very cool to see him get in. Just the interview with Major League Baseball Network was great. He gives such great answers that are very well spoken, and wow, what a great coach he would be, just listening to him talk on how he went through things, was going through things, certain things of aspects of games that happened that he was asked about, and his answers I thought it was amazing. So congratulations to him. Looking forward to hopefully getting him on here. Todd Helton missed it by 11 votes, so he'll probably get in next year. Fred McGriff, the crime dog, he was selected by the Veterans Committee, so he will be going in with Scott Rowland. But pretty cool. Pretty. Maybe we'll have to do the show from Cooperstown, New York next summer. Wouldn't that be cool? I may have to think about that. That would be fun. Indiana basketball tonight at 9. Man, that's a long way from now. Plus, it's a long end from now. How many of you all, does 9 o'clock games affect anybody as far as being able to watch them? Do you all still watch the entire game? I mean, I have to, but I know it's late for some people. I know most fans stay up, but yeah, we had a little power outage this morning, unfortunately, with the snow, surprisingly, but oh well. Andrew says Woody has the team headed in the right direction. They should keep it going. They are definitely heading in the right direction. And yeah, I've seen several comments that I go back and I try to respond to any comments on any of the programs, the segments and all that. But there was one about people keep talking about, well, it's because TJD's healthy now. It's because TJD's healthy now. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's because TJD is playing like a beast now. And we're saying, well, it's because he's – no. This team is playing differently. If you can't see that, then you need to take off your crimson-colored glasses. This team stunk. Ask Woody. Ask the players. Listen to what they say. Don't listen to what I or somebody else says. Listen to what the players say. They talked about what was going on. They weren't playing well. They weren't playing well enough to win. They weren't playing up to their potential. But they are now, or they're heading in that direction. And that's the difference in this team. And that's why there's, they didn't have a players only meeting because Trace Jackson Davis was injured. He didn't have a players only meeting because to tell him, oh, I'm hurt. So you guys got to pick it up for me. No, that's not what happened. So stop living on excuses, people. Don't live on excuses. Because they're just that. They weren't playing well. Now they are. They're playing extraordinarily well. And their ceiling just keeps getting higher. The defensive intensity, that has been the difference. That's the difference for Rutgers. That's why Rutgers is having the success they are. Their defense is stifling. And that makes a gigantic difference in any team. Well, look at Indiana. When you're giving up 80 points a game, tough to win those games. But when they stopped doing that, they scored 89 points against Iowa and lost. So, but yes, they are playing extraordinarily well. I expect them to go into Minnesota and win tonight, as does everyone else, because Minnesota has won 12% of their Big Ten games. They're 1-7. They have a losing home record at 5-6. Not that they've got one win over Ohio State, and that started a kind of a tailspin for Ohio State. That's where Ohio State's problems started. But that's a game that Indiana needs to play like Indiana and show that, yes, it doesn't matter who we play. We're not going to play down to the level of our competition. But it'll be interesting. Looking forward to it. See how it turns out. I think it's time to take a break.
Yep.
You could always talk, John Boy.
No, you're good. I just figured you were going to go to break after you said that. So yeah, you're good.
Let's do that. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our great friends from Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club. Great places like BB's Market, where we'll be Friday doing the show. So make sure you stop in and have breakfast. I'll even buy you breakfast if you want to stop in. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it
All right. Mr. Dusty May should be with us shortly. Excuse me.
Best basketball movies. Teen Wolf. So Teen Wolf was the course of discussion earlier.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where that came from.
Jamie says they're night owl. No problems with late games. But for Fozan, yes, it does. It will be 5 a.m. in Jordan. So I'm assuming you're listening in Jordan, as in the country. We appreciate you, my friend. How are you? We've got to get some Indiana Sports Beat merchandise up and rolling, man. I'd love to have someone wearing an Indiana.
You know what? Get one
I'd
of
like
your
to have
sponsors to have a booth.
I already have. Hey, there he is.
Hey guys,
The King. How's it going there, Coach of the Year?
we're doing well so far. Got to find a way to keep winning. I got to get my background right. We got limited options here in the.
See, I had you on earlier, and look what happened. And Michael was on earlier. Look what they're doing at Ball State. See,
yeah,
it's all good luck, man. You come on here, and it's all good
Absolutely.
luck.
Hoosiers
Thanks
are
for your
rolling.
flexibility again.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm pretty flexible till 10.
Good stuff. All right, Jim, we're back in 30 seconds. I'll go ahead and bring us back in.
And Rogers in Bloomington offers a variety of freshly made fare, tying their roots in limestone with their love of Southern eateries. With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious, 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're coming to you here on this Wednesday, and we are very fortunate and lucky to have our great friend of the show, Dusty May, head coach of Florida Atlantic, to join us. How are you, Coach?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Great. We've got some snow up here. I'm sure it's a little different than it is in Boca Raton. I don't even know how much out there, but we got a lot of snow here in Bloomington.
I think it's 75 right now, so not to rub it in.
No, not at all. Not at all. As you head out to the beach this afternoon. Well, whatever it is, it's working for the Florida Atlantic Owls, man. You guys are rolling. You were on earlier before the season started, I think, and you had some great expectations. But even in, as a coach, I know coaches are always positive about their teams. But did you foresee this as this start? I mean, this is pretty damn good. You got this team ranked in the top 25. This is big time for this program.
Yeah, Jim, we knew we had a really good team coming back. We returned 7 of our 8 top producers from last year. And then we added Nick Boyd, who sat out last year as a medical redshirt, and he probably averaged 6 points a game as a freshman the prior year. And then we added Jalen Gaffney from University of Connecticut, who was a rotation player, backup guard, who we knew how capable he was. So essentially we returned 8 of our top 9, and then we had Jalen Gaffney, and then we added a couple good young players, one from junior college and a couple from high school, and Trey Carroll was sitting out. So we knew we'd upgraded our talent level, and we had a really close-knit group of like-minded guys. So we knew we had our best team coming back, but you have to go on the court and perform at the right moments, and our guys have done that.
And early on, you guys played a tough schedule. Big win with Florida. Didn't you beat Florida?
Correct. We beat Florida at the University of Florida.
Too bad Kevin Brockway's not on with us today. Our good friend, he comes on. He covers the Gators now. He'll be on with us later in the week. I wish he was on today, but that is a huge win within the state. I know, but just period nationally. That's an SEC program and a national champion program. What did that win do for you guys?
I think it just opened up some eyes around the state, especially in recruiting circles with coaches, and it put our guys, I guess, underneath a little bit bigger of a spotlight, and it I think caused them to have even a greater belief in what we could become if we continue to improve and play the right way and have a shared sacrifice, and that's probably the greatest attribute of our guys. They're very, very unselfish. And they're sharing the spotlight. They're sharing shots. It's a group that's really, really grown up and supported each other.
And coming up next at this juncture of the season, this is where teams really start to get even better. But you guys have been on a roll before. What are you looking for with your team as you're entering February? The heart of conference play now. You've kind of hit the midway point. Where are you? How are you feeling about them? What do you see next out of your squad?
Well, we're extremely excited because we don't feel like we've played anywhere near our best basketball. We have a much higher ceiling. We've got a lot of room for growth, and our guys seem undeterred with anything. I mean, they're working hard. They seem just as focused, if not more focused than they were earlier in the year. So we like the direction we're going in. But like I said, we still have some of our better, most efficient scorers haven't produced at the same clip they have in the past. They haven't been as efficient. So we always talk about water finds its level. They're much better offensive players than their stats indicate right now. And so I do think we're going to find our offensive groove. But more than anything else, Jim, we just try to be consistent on both sides of the ball. We don't need to be great on either side, but we need to be really, really good on both. And then also with special teams and things like that. So that's what we're concerned with, just being really good on both sides of the ball. And as long as we defend and rebound, it should take the pressure off of us having to make shots.
Are you guys in the AAC now or Conference USA still? I know it's a switch over time.
Yeah, this is the last year of Conference USA, and we'll switch to the American Conference next year.
Are you looking forward to that? What about the differences in conferences are you looking forward to?
Well, when you take Houston out, especially Houston, Conference USA and the American are very comparable as far as the numbers and metrics are right now. And typically Conference USA has done really well against the American. I think right now maybe our league is 3-0 versus their league. So it is a step up, especially with media and television games and as far as growth. But as far as competition, our league is very strong now that we're leaving, and we'll be moving up just a little bit to a very good basketball conference.
And of course, that brings more opportunities as well for the program. But now that you have turned this program, I mean, you're taking it to heights that they've never been before. There has to be a lot of excitement for this down there on campus, in and around the school and all that. And that has to be a great feeling for you.
Yeah, Jim, anytime I guess any event in South Florida is a challenge to get people inside an arena, inside a football stadium. It's the same for the Heat, the Dolphins. Turn on a Heat game, and they have a very late arriving crowd, and they may not have a very good crowd at all in the regular season until the playoffs. So for us to be selling out consistently now is a testament to our players, our administration, our marketing department. They're capitalizing on what we've been able to do. And it's awesome to have such a basketball environment in this community because it's rare. And I lived in Los Angeles, and it was hard to get people to the UCLA, USC games, football, basketball, everything. So anytime you live in a place that has a lot of options and great weather and beaches and whatnot, it's hard to get people to watch sporting events in person. So, we're very, very proud to be selling out our arena, and our student body's been incredible.
I would think that helps with recruiting, though, on the other end of the spectrum. That cannot hurt recruiting.
Yeah. Well, obviously the environment, players want to play in a great, energetic environment where they're appreciated for their efforts. But also just the visibility in our program. I hate to say it, but with recruiting, we used to call it cafeteria talk. I don't know if kids still go to the cafeteria now. They may just Uber lunch to wherever they are, but Uber Eats lunch or whatever the case. So the cafeteria talk, where your name, when a player in Orlando or Tallahassee, and they say they're being recruited by Florida Atlantic basketball, the students they say great things. Hey, they're top 25, man. I watched them play. They're really good. So that chatter is really important in recruiting. And right now we have a great buzz, but we also know that it could be gone tomorrow if we don't continue to take care of business and improve.
As I look over the schedule, you guys lost only your second game of the season to an SEC foe, Ole Miss. And since then, it's been all W's, baby. It's all green, including that next win. How did you bounce back? You lose to Ole Miss, an SEC team. Then you've got another SEC team that you have to play right on the heels. And I assume that game was at Florida.
Both. They were actually, Jim, we scheduled it back-to-back road trips. So we played at Ole Miss, and then we stayed on the road. We bussed to Birmingham, practiced there after the game, and then we bussed to Atlanta to fly to Gainesville. So the glamorous travel of Florida Atlantic basketball. But it was great because we spent a lot of time together. It was in between. It was during a break in classes. And so after the Ole Miss game, we made a lot of mistakes and uncharacteristic mistakes. And credit Ole Miss, they played well. Had a good game plan, but we felt like we really shot ourselves in the foot at times, had a late technical when we cut it to 5, touching the rim, just some things that were uncharacteristic. So, we all took I guess, look in the mirror and reevaluated what was really important. And we got Michael Force back the next game, and Mike had 20 at Florida. So obviously him being out, he's a 1,400 point scorer, whatever he is here at FAU. Him being out at Ole Miss didn't help. But we learned a lot about ourselves. And to be honest, if we were able to win that Ole Miss game and then stay on the road, we probably wouldn't have had the same edge or determination at Florida. So, the things we go through, we grow, we get better. Just more proud of how we responded after the Florida game. That could have been a letdown, and we came back home against some really good mid-major competition and took care of business.
Well, and that's the thing, the response. First of all, you lose to a team that should win on paper, and then you have to do the traveling to another team that you should lose to on paper. And I'm wondering, and it kind of reminds me, you guys, what you're going through is like a AAA baseball team, not having all the entitlements that some of these bigger schools have. And I'm really wondering if this entitlements is affecting the game, because you see some of these teams, I'm like, what? Well, Indiana was for one that had just lost their edge for a minute, and they just looked entitled. And I'm wondering, and the entitlement seems to really be permeating college sports right now because of the NIL thing. We saw the thing happen with the kid at Florida in football. You guys are able to escape that right now and seem to have all players that still have that hunger and that fight, and are able to go out and win games like Florida and then win every damn game after that as well. That's tough to do. Winning, especially when you've done nothing but win, it gets harder because people want to beat you more so, and to keep that focus.
Well, we're getting everyone's best shot. We're getting full arenas on the road. We're getting promotions, promotional T-shirts and game day activities for our game. So it's awesome that we've become the biggest game, or one of the biggest games on the opposition schedule. With that comes a responsibility to match the energy, effort, intensity. And as far as the distractions in college basketball now, the NIL, the transfer portal, all the things, the social media, all the pressures and stressors that these young men are going through, I think our secret is our guys love basketball. They love each other and they enjoy the work. So, with that, I don't know if we'll become entitled. I don't know if we'll become, with our egos, we'll get to. I don't know. We're curious to see how this all transfers, and we're trying to get out ahead of it. But at the end of the day, when you have competitive guys that love the game and really love and support each other, when the lights come on, man, they only know one way. And that's what I think our guys, they only know one way. They don't know how to go through the motions. And if we lose, it's going to be because someone beats us. It's not going to be because our guys just go through the motions. I'm very confident in that.
And Dusty, who all were you able to coach under or learn under when you were a manager? I'm trying to remember. Did you have the crossover between Knight and Davis?
No, actually, I was a manager, Coach Knight's last 4 years, and then I left to go to Southern Cal when the the events went down with Coach Knight and then Coach Dave. I was at USC 2 years. Coach Davis made the run, and the group made the run to the championship game, and then he created a spot on staff the following year. And I came back to Bloomington for 3 years.
I asked that. I couldn't get it. I couldn't remember exactly until I got it pulled up. But the reason I asked that is I look at other coaches, Mike Krzyzewski for one. These guys and everybody that I have on the show that has played for Coach Knight, it cracks me up because they all are all the same. They are literally students of the game, and I mean that literally. And I tell people, I said, trust me, people, every one of these guys has 4 years worth of freaking notebooks that they still have. But seeing a guy like you, like Mike Krzyzewski, and that are able to take those teachings, what you learned and all those things, but do it with a different personality to reach today's player, because today's player is a 180 from the 120 years ago. It is remarkable, and I think it's obviously serving you well. How has it been to reach today's players when you learned at a time that was completely different?
Well, Jim, I coached AAU one summer, and I tried my best to be a miniature version of Coach Knight. And that wasn't much fun for our guys. And if any of them are listening, I'm sure that they'll nod and agree. I was a raging lunatic. I couldn't help it. I thought that's the way I was supposed to coach. But fortunately, I'm pretty self-aware and I'm hard on myself. So
how many tees did you get? Did you get teed up a bunch? Did you get any tees? Come on, tell me.
I don't think I got very many, but I deserved numerous. So, I kind of learned at a young age that wasn't who I wanted to be, or wasn't really who I was, and it wasn't much fun for them, nor was it fun for me. So, fortunately, I had that experience, and then I also it was eye-opening how difficult it was to organize a practice, draw up a play out of a timeout in a pressure situation. So I had a newfound respect for what head coaches do when I was young, because it looks a lot easier than it is as an assistant or as a player. So, that experience was invaluable. And then just working for Coach Bibby, working for the guys I worked with, just seeing how everyone did it differently. And even now we talk about it. It all works and it all doesn't work. You can show me any style of play, any system, and we can give you an example of it working at a high level. And then we can show you examples of it failing. And usually it's belief and everyone being on the same page and being connected.
The net rankings, of course, one of the biggest metric that used by the NCAA for the tournament. Did you ever dream again? And I'm sure that this is not something that you sat around and thought of, but the fact that Florida Atlantic right now is sitting at number 18 in the net rankings and Indiana is number 20. Just the sheer thought of that has to be, I mean, if you go in there, you get off this show, you shut the door and you look at that, there's no way you could not look at that and just go, wow. I mean, that's just got to be a cool moment.
Well, I mean, obviously being an Indiana grad and Indiana fan, I think they have a really good basketball team. So I haven't really noticed. I don't pay that much attention to that. I'll see it on Twitter or on social media if there's a graphic, and I may like it or retweet it, but I don't really pay any attention to that stuff. We do look at the offensive metrics and the defensive metrics, and just seeing when our staff took this program over, I guess, almost 4.5 years ago, I want to say we were in the high 290s or low 300s in Ken Pomeroy. And now we're up in the mid 30s ish. So just to see the exponential growth of our program, and it's a tribute to the staff, the players, and everyone just working together for a common goal, and it's cliche, but not caring about the credit, taking ego out of it. And it's been a blast.
What are you basing? What is your style? I know defense first is what certain teams use as what is you're using to win. What's Florida Atlantic doing?
Well, we feel like we have a very good balance. We play fast. In a perfect world, we play fast. We shoot it quick. We generate good offense early in the clock. But there are times whenever we have to play slower paced teams. So we feel like we're very, very versatile, and our goal is to be really good on both sides of the ball. We're not excellent on either. I think our numbers, our metrics are good in both, but we're not excellent in either. And we're not trying to be great in one and then poor in another. We want to be really good and consistent on both sides of the ball. and adaptable enough to adjust to how the other teams want to play. But our identity is we get rim twos and we get threes. And then defensively, we're really sound. We guard the ball. We get up into the ball. We play with great energy, and then we rebound it from all 5 positions because we're undersized at 4 of the 5 positions on the court at almost all times. And then our backup center is undersized as well. So there are times when we're smaller and lighter at all 5 positions, and we still have before our last game, we were number 15 in the country in rebound differential. And so it's a testament to our guys, their heart, their desire, their quickness to the ball, all those things. And we just feel like the way we play is right for us.
And the one last thing, the potential of possibly facing Indiana in the NCAA tournament. I know you are a Division I head coach, so you've got, like you said, you don't pay attention to a lot of stuff. You've got your focus of what you've got to do. But being an IU grad, being a Greene County kid, being from here, how cool would that be if you guys ended up playing in the tournament?
Well, it'd be really cool that FAU is represented in the NCAA tournament. So that would be the coolest part. And then anything after that would be icing on the cake. If it was Indiana, we'd love to play them, and the exposure that it would bring to our program. Because, Jim, here's the thing. Coaches get paid a lot of money. And obviously we're not at the level of Power 5, but we have a responsibility to promote our university, promote our athletic department, and grow the student body, and really put a great foot forward for everyone to see. So we take great pride in helping this unbelievable university grow its value, grow its perception. So the way we play, the way we carry ourselves, we're trying to represent something bigger than ourselves at all times. And I think our guys embrace that as well. So that would be awesome to be on that type of stage.
Well, the Florida Atlantic is beyond lucky to have someone like you as their representative and ambassador, because not only are you great at it, you're a winner too, man. And I'm sure they don't hate that at all. Brother, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to come out on the program again today. We appreciate you. I think that a lot of people, you got a lot of fans that are rooting for you as well. I'm sure, especially if you're not playing Indiana, they'll be pulling for you, as will we. We'll be looking forward to seeing how well FAU does as they continue their season, man. And I hope you keep winning. I hope you win out. That would be amazing. Just amazing.
I hope we win Thursday, Jim. That's
how big a game is that?
That's a big game. Middle Tennessee State was a thorn in our side last year. We finished second behind them in Conference USA East last year. They beat us twice, and we'd done well against them in years prior. So it's a revenge tour for our guys. We got to get over the hump against them after them keeping us from winning a share of the conference championship last year.
So, well, at least you've got them at home, right?
Correct.
So you've got Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky at home back to back before you hit the road.
Yeah, both teams were picked ahead of us in the preseason polls, by the way.
Buddy, I'm sure a lot of people may have been picked, but that's changed now. Here comes the Owls. Buddy, I appreciate you so much and look forward to doing this again. We'll keep checking in with you and keep her rolling.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you guys having me on. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dusty. Appreciate you. The great Dusty May, head coach of Florida Atlantic, 18-1 Florida Atlantic, joining us here on the program. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from GoTeen, a part of the Web Endeavor Hospitality Wow Club. GoTeen is for those that are on the go, need a quick, delicious snack full of protein. And you can pick those up at GoTeenBites.com or at BB's Market. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal. Great interview, man. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm. He is.
And they are rolling, baby.
I'll tell you what, that would be a really cool matchup to see in the NCAA tournament. Excuse me.
Say that.
I said that would be a cool matchup in the NCAA tournament if that worked out.
Well, the NCAA likes to do stuff like that.
They do. I've already seen a projection where they have them playing Kentucky in the first round. Indiana being a 6, Kentucky being an 11. Wouldn't that be ridiculous?
An Indiana-Kentucky first-round matchup. Yeah. But that sounds about right.
They'll do until the game returns, which obviously it's going to. They'll do it. They'll try to match up Indiana, Kentucky any chance they have.
Well, they always have.
It's just silly. Let's see something else.
Well, they want the TV ratings, man.
Yeah, that's true. They don't care about anything but that, so that makes sense.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have 10 games left. That would be awesome for them to roll.
Tell you what, he'd be looking at some. I don't know how happy he is for Atlanta.
Oh, I'm sure he's pretty happy. If I had to guess, I would guess that he is waiting for Jim Larinaga to retire at Miami.
That's not a bad thought right there. How much has he said when he's going to retire, or no?
Nope.
Good morning, Mr. Neddenriep. You hear us?
Yep. Sorry, I had my audio off there.
Oh, you're good. No problem.
I got you.
Kyle growing the chin whiskers? Got a goatee going?
Sometimes.
Oh, how are you doing, brother?
Good, you?
Great. Just had Dusty May on.
Oh, yeah?
Great dude. They're 18-1, man.
That's awesome.
19-1?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I missed one.
Unless I'm wrong, but I thought I saw 19-1.
How are the roads up there?
I just had my younger son go out and shovel the driveway.
That's what kids are for.
Yeah.
That's convenient, boy. Hey, boy. Here, take this. Go to work.
But I think it's kind of pointless because it's coming down worse now.
10 seconds.
Entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast, Market, and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Well, welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this snowy Wednesday, brought to you by our good friend Cheryl Sizemore with Remax Realty in the Indianapolis area. If you're looking for a home, Cheryl is the way to turn. You need her 20 years of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. And any home she sells will come with a snow shovel, as you will need it. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us. How are things up there snow-wise?
It's coming down pretty heavy now. It wasn't, when I woke up this morning, it wasn't that bad really. And then, it's progressively getting worse though. And I think the roads are getting worse up here. So, pretty much everybody's off school that I've seen anyway around here. And then we had some good games scheduled for tonight, actually for a Wednesday, but those games are off as well. I was going to go see New Pal and Lawrence North, but that has moved to Monday now. So I'm going to try to get out there Monday, but yeah, it's going to, I'm curious to see how much we end up getting, but it's coming down pretty heavy. And I think we'll be for a little while.
Yeah, it looks like it is here as well. And we're an hour south. Great piece that I saw that when this go out, this just came out today. Coaches Confidential. Should Indiana high school basketball tournament be seeded? I think absolutely it should be, but I know you guys probably put a lot of research into this and talked to a lot of people on a lot of sides. First of all, did anything come out surprising to you?
Yeah, I thought if you read through it, and it's both boys and girls coaches, and it's obviously a topic that comes up a lot. I think the biggest question, and I thought it was interesting, I got a variety of answers back, from the boys anyway. And I know Brian did when he asked the girls coaches, but, I think it's mixed opinion as far as, it's a wide variety. I think the biggest question is like, how would it be seeded? You know, would it be Sagarin? Would it be, you know, coaches deciding? When I worked in Missouri, you know, the sectional is basically, they call it the district. It's essentially the same thing. It's by geography. You have, you know, 6-7 teams. It's basically what the sectional is here. You know, the coaches would go in the room and basically decide, you know, what the seeding was. And it wasn't that hard normally. You know, they would just pick 1 through 6, and, you know, you had some head-to-head games. You had every once in a while you have some argument, but you'd basically leave the room however long it took with the sectional, with the district draw. Like I said, the sectional here. So, you know, and that seemed to work relatively well. But, you know, I think, you know, whether you go by Sagarin or you do it that way, there's a lot of questions how you do it. You know, I think it's just you know, it's you know, some people like it the way it is, you know, and they think it wouldn't change a whole lot. You know, a lot of people said, hey, let's seed the top 2, which is kind of my opinion, you know, seed the top 2 in the sectional and then draw it as you would otherwise. And then some people are just, you know, hey, let's just leave it. You know, there's no issue with it. Let's just do it this way. And I, to a certain extent, you know, the sectional is great. I mean, I like it as it is now. But the only tweak I would personally like to see is seeding the top 2 teams so you get the best matchup in the championship. You know, you know, to me, it's like, I don't see any argument against that. You know, why not have your best potential matchup in the championship? You know, that's how every other tournament seems to be drawn up, you know, and it builds up, you know. So that's the only thing. Like, I don't understand, you know, I don't really understand why you'd want to have that game on a Tuesday night, you know, in the end of February. But that's just me. I don't know. But I think there's a lot of people who, you know, would like to see something done. And I don't think we ever will. I mean, it's one of those hypothetical things that, you know, I don't know that there's a huge appetite among the coaches, you know, to, you know, at least get on board with something that's all similar. That's the problem, is there's so many different ideas that you don't really end up with, you know, consensus on what should be done. So I think that's probably the biggest issue to do something, is there's no consensus on what that would actually be.
Yeah, I agree with sectionals, because there are times where you can have up to 7 teams in a sectional, and not all sectionals are the same. So I absolutely agree with that. It makes no sense to see the 2 top teams playing on the first night. They don't deserve that. I think they've earned that right by winning during the year. So I'd like to see them do it, but I'd rather seen that they didn't go to class basketball, so that didn't matter. They did that too, so there's that. But we'll see. What's up next? I know the draw came out for the girls. Where are the boys as the season's progressing along? A lot of games canceled for tonight, like you said, but that shouldn't have. Will that have much impact on what's going on?
No, not really. I mean, there's only a smattering of games tonight. There were some good ones, but you know, those will be played probably on Monday of next week. But you know, we had the city tournament this week that wrapped up. You know, coming off Marion County tournament, city, they're always back-to-back weeks, and that, you know, I get to see a lot of teams play, a lot of our local teams play, and probably a bit of a surprise, or I would say a pretty big surprise, was Attucks beating Cathedral in the championship game. And an Attucks team that's pretty young. You know, they were seeded second, but a pretty distant second to Cathedral in the city. And, you know, going into it, I was like, man, I don't know how interesting this is going to be this year, because Cathedral is so good. But they did lose. Jake Davis he's going to Mercer to play next year, and he's a big part of their team. You know, they have kind of a big 3 of him and Xavier Booker and Jerron Tibbs. He was injured, had a hematoma in his leg, actually was in the hospital Saturday. And then he was actually there Monday. He's doing better, but couldn't play. So, you know, they were missing him, but I really thought Attucks, their young guys, outplayed Tibbs and Booker for the most part. And they you know, they kind of took it to him. You know, Desmond Briscoe, who's a sophomore, you know, he's getting some high level interest and has some offers already. Had 16 points in the first half against Cathedral, ended up with 21. And then, you know, Ron Rutland III, who's really good guard for them, a junior, played exceptionally well. So pretty big surprise. Attucks is kind of the one team that's been able to, Cathedral's on a really good run here the last 7 years or so under Jason Delaney, but Attucks has beat them the only 2 times they haven't won the city. Attucks has been the team to beat them, and they've gone head to head with them often. So, credit to that program, and a lot of pride, in Attucks, of course, with the history of that program. And it was cool to see. The Monday night for City is always a little bit different. It's kind of, they have the stage to themselves a little bit, and it was a fun atmosphere to be in, and a lot of pride, obviously, in that program.
Mentioning Cathedral, their senior Xavier Booker selected yesterday for the McDonald's All-American game. The 6'10" senior that is headed to Michigan State. So a gigantic honor for him.
Yeah, really, a big honor, and I'd have to go back and look and see, over the years. I didn't have time to do that yesterday, but kind of what the, what our run has been here the last several years. See, there was a run there where we had a kid every year, it seemed like, if not multiple kids in the game. And Ashlyn Shade of, she transferred to La Lumiere, was at Noblesville last year. She made it on the girls' side as well. So really 2 local kids who made it. But yeah, good honor. I know, this is something that, it's sort of a recruiting ranking list to some degree, more than probably a high school honor. And I'm not saying that about Xavier necessarily, but that's kind of what it is. And, to be honest with you, that's probably, if you're looking for the most talented players, that's probably what you would go for. So I'm not, not saying anything against anyone who made it, but that's kind of what it is. But, a great honor. Xavier's obviously, he's one of those guys that, his potential's through the roof, and I'm anxious to see what he does at Michigan State next year and beyond. See how his game translates to the next level. But yeah, great for him to get that honor.
What's up next for you, Kyle?
We've got some. We're doing that Coaches Confidential series. We've got another one coming tomorrow. I think people will be interested in seeing. It's kind of the biggest challenges in coaching in 2023, and a lot of interesting answers, I thought, as I go through those today. We're putting that out, I think, tomorrow morning. But you go down from dealing with parents to the time it takes to run a program to just everything. The kids who are expecting things right away. So there's just a lot of different answers that kind of like, oh, that's something I didn't think about, or that's something maybe I knew, but the answer dives into it a little bit more. So we'll have a couple more of those coming, and then I've got a story coming tomorrow on a couple who is trying to travel to every basketball gym in the state, and they haven't made it halfway yet, but they're on their way. So it was fun to talk to them about what they're doing. So
how old are they?
They are pre-retirement. They're in their 50s, but this is something they were wanting to do before they retired.
Are there like 400?
Yeah, roughly. Was it a little over 400? So they've been to, I have to go back and look, but they're on their way. They're on the weekends. They try to go farther places. I think they went to 3 last weekend. And then they go more local. They're from here, but they're trying to get everywhere in the state, obviously. So just a kind of a fun story on something maybe some Indiana people would do, but they're taking on the challenge.
That sounds pretty cool. And then when they get done with that, they can start putting in the ones that are not active anymore, like the wigwam.
Yeah, I don't. They're they try to go to restaurants too, like in little town. They went to Medora, was it 2 weeks ago, and said they went to a little pizza place there. So they're trying to incorporate a little bit of the community into their trips too. So it's fun idea, and they're doing it to kind of have a hobby. They said they used to bowl. They don't really do that anymore. So chance to do something together and get a little bit of cheap entertainment too.
I'll have to get them on their quest as each time they go and and they can tell us what the food was like whenever they were.
Right. Right.
Kyle, I cannot thank you enough, man. Make sure you give Kyle Neddenriep a follow and be a subscriber to the Indy Star. Keep papers alive. Appreciate you, my friend.
All right. No problem, Jim. Thank you.
You betcha. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat on this Wednesday. Brought to you by Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. If you're down in the Louisville, Southern Indiana, Floyd, Clark, Harris, and Scott County areas, they have served those communities for 3 decades. No one can get you in the home quicker, better, or less expensive than Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or our friend Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. We're back with the double Hall of Famer, Rick Bozich, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
Hello, Mr. Two-time Hall of Famer.
Good morning. I hear you're getting some snow up there.
Yes, sir. It's still
A lot.
I wouldn't say a lot compared to Indy from what Kyle was telling me, because it's still rolling there. It looks like it's kind of tapered off, but we're good enough here that the road should be just a kind of a pain, no big deal. But apparently it's still coming down up there.
Yeah.
Rick, are we able to keep you for 2 20-minute segments here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to check that so we could split this, divide it into 2 kind of thing.
Man,
Sorry,
that Dusty May on earlier
today.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, he was. Wow, they're 18 or 19-1, man. They're rolling.
No, they're good.
They've got a game with Western coming up.
Is he from Bloomington?
He's from Greene County, which is
Okay. Yeah. I know
Spencer. I think Spencer. So yeah, he's a local
Greene
guy.
County's like Bloomfield and Linton and those places, right?
Is that Greene County? I was thinking it was out towards Spencer, but you're probably right.
I thought so. I don't know. Was he a student manager at IU?
Yeah, for the last 4 years of Bob Knight's tenure.
Oh, wow.
And then he went to USC.
To be a manager or to be a GA or what?
I bet he went to be a GA. I'd have to pull his Wikipedia back up, but
Abernathy's son isn't on his staff, is he? Do you know?
You know what? I did not know that if he was. I wish I would have.
He might be on the staff of Florida Gulf Coast.
I think he's waiting for Jim Larranaga to retire and just stay right there, baby, and just move down the coast.
Todd Abernathy is assistant coach at Florida Atlantic.
Ah, dang it. I didn't know that.
Tom's youngest son. Yeah. Thought he was.
Where did he play or did he play anywhere?
I think he played at Ole Miss.
Really?
He had
Which is ironic. That's the only loss they have this year is to Ole Miss.
Wow. I need to probably put him in the poll. I've been putting Charleston in.
They're ranked. Florida Atlanta is like 21st or something.
Yeah, they are.
All right, here we go.
Fresh Fork takes care of all the planning, shopping, and prepping and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right, it's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this snowy Wednesday, January 25. Joined now by Rick Bozich of WDRB.com. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good. We got rain here. We don't have snow.
Well, you're lucky because that goes away much quicker than this stuff does. I promise you. I had Dusty May on earlier, and you were asked where he's from. We were talking about where he was, and he's from Greene County, which I mentioned I thought it may be Spencer, but I was quickly educated that no, that's Owen County, and that Greene County is Linton, Switzerland City, Bloomfield, as Rick said, And Andrew says that Dusty was a very good point guard at Eastern Green High School. I think JMV came out of there. I'm trying to think of who else that came out of there. How about got Scott Rowland going into the Hall of Fame, Jasper native, born in Evansville, lives in Bloomington. First of all, it's great to see a guy like that has never left. He's never left home, which is pretty cool. But I saw an interview with him on, I see him a lot. Saw him last Sunday at the IU game. Very, very humble, quiet guy, even though he's not he's in the room when he's in there. But the interview on Major League Baseball Network was awesome. He was such a great speaker when he answered the questions. They were full of just great detailed answers, and it was awesome watching him talk, to be honest with you. I can see why Indiana baseball wants and needs him around. He's just great at what he does. But great to see him become the 18th third baseman. You're a big baseball guy, only the 18th third baseman ever into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, a couple things about Scott Rowland. One is, I remember the first time I heard about him, Rick Pitino was recruiting him a little bit. He was a good basketball player at Jasper.
Number 2 Mester basketball in 1993 for Indiana.
And Pitino decided to go with Jeff Shepard instead with that scholarship. And then committed to Georgia. He was going to go to Georgia and play basketball and I think baseball too. But he was going to go on a basketball scholarship.
Yep.
And then the Phillies drafted him, and he went to the Phillies, and he made the right choice. And what I like about Rowland was he was just darn competitive. I mean, he was feisty. He when he was out there, you knew he was there, and he took pride in his defense, and that's what got him in the Hall of Fame. I've seen a lot of debate on Twitter about his offensive numbers and whether he's Hall of Fame worthy. But what pushed him into the Hall of Fame was 8 Gold Gloves, and he did it. And he won a World Series with the Cardinals and got close in some other situations. And I remember when the Reds kind of had a little bit of revival late in his career, that Walt Dockety brought him to Cincinnati to help them establish a winning culture. That's the kind of guy Scott Rowland was. At the tail end of his career, he wanted him in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, and I can see exactly why, like I said, just from seeing that interview last night, which was, like I said, it was awesome. He had his family there, and he was doing I think he said his 3rd Zoom call ever. But very, 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 very cool to see that.
You could tell it meant a lot to him too, because he's had to grind to get in the Hall of Fame. He started out first year, and I think he got like 10% of the vote.
It's the biggest gap for any player to get into the Hall of Fame for their debut number at 10% to get in by the writers. Fred McGriff going in this year with him, but that was from the Veterans Committee. But and only one guy gets in. And something else, a stat that I found absolutely astounding. It is the only 1 to 1.5% of players that have ever played Major League Baseball get into the Hall of Fame. You talk about the upper 1%, baby. Yeah. That is the upper 1%.
Yeah, the best of the best. And another thing, he played during a lot of the steroid era, and he wasn't a steroid guy. And that, I think he deserves credit for that. And as a White Sox fan, I'm hoping the next young Southern Indiana player to make it to the Hall of Fame is another guy who played basketball and then chose baseball, Colson Montgomery of, I think he's Southridge High School, who's the White Sox #1 pick a couple years ago, and he'll probably be the White Sox shortstop in a couple of years. Yeah, I think he's a Scott Rowland fan.
Well, that's a good fan to be a fan of, and it's good to have him. He's, like I said, he's around the IU program.
He is.
I know that Jeff Mercer could not be more ecstatic. And again, I'm seeing more and more why. I had not had a lot of opportunities to be around Scott. He's a quiet guy. And also, I want to tell everybody, E5, that is his charitable foundation. And I just found out about that because the hat he was wearing. Did you see the interview, I guess, last night?
I did.
It was on the
I was watching basketball.
He was wearing a hat, and one of the guys caught it that says E5. Well, that's the name of his charitable
Oh, wow.
organization, E5, which is great, and they had a great laugh about that. But he does a ton of stuff. So E5 is his charity organization, and hopefully we'll have him on the show. We'll talk about that. But he does a ton of stuff with that, so that's great. Great to see him get in and get that over with, and then yeah, he was the only player selected by the writers. But yeah, great. And that's got to be helpful for IU baseball to have a guy like that around now to say, hey, we've got a Hall of Famer here that you'll get to be around.
No question about that. I'm sure he can give plenty of tips on hitting, on fielding, on probably the most important part of baseball, the mental part of, when you fail, not being consumed by it. There's just a lot of baseball players who I think the number one obstacle they have to overcome is you play so many games and you could actually hit the ball hard a couple times and go 0 for 4 and then beat yourself up over it for a few hours afterwards. And, the guys who learn how to handle failure are the guys who have a better chance of making it, in my opinion.
And when you get a guy like this that is a hometown guy, Jasper guy, that goes that becomes a Hall of Famer, this is not an area known for producing baseball players. It doesn't. The baseball teams don't do as well because it's a warm weather and all of that stuff. Does this help in any way get more guys out to show you that, man, you not only can you play, you can be a Hall of Famer. It doesn't matter where you come from.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I mean, there's a pretty strong tradition in Southern Indiana of good baseball players. You had Don Mattingly, Andy Bennison, those guys out of Evansville. Gil Hodges, I remember, is from Princeton, Indiana, the guy who was the manager of the Miracle Mets.
Forgot about that. Yeah. Gil Hodges.
Yeah, I mean, I know New Albany's had Steve Stemley and Josh Rogers, who've made it to the big leagues briefly. Walt Terrell from Jeffersonville was a pitcher in the major leagues for a while. I mean, we've had our share of baseball players in this area. It's just, they're at a disadvantage because the kids who do live in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, California can play all year long, and that's developmentally that's an advantage. But I think these days, the way I see it is any kid who wants to succeed in baseball pretty much has to commit to it all year long, unless they're like a superior athlete like Colson Montgomery was, where he played basketball, was all-state, and also was a football quarterback until he gave it up. These guys today, these kids play all spring, all summer. Then they play fall ball in these travel teams the whole time, and then in the wintertime they go to these indoor facilities and hit. So yeah, I mean, if you commit to it and you've got the ability, you can do it. I mean, I know that Louisville baseball, which is perennially a top 10 program, they recruit Indiana hard, man. They've had a lot of really good players out of Indiana.
Maybe that's why Indiana's not getting to the level they need to get to. Their players are going.
Well, I mean, they've had a hard time keeping kids out of. The really good kids want to go play in the SEC because it's clearly the best league in baseball, and it's got the best facility, it's got the best weather, the best competition, and then they want to go play in the ACC because when you do play these games in the winter or in the spring, you'd rather play a game at Florida State than you would at.
I was going to say, you're in Miami, you're all those other great places.
Yeah, even Georgia Tech or even Carolina. It's going to be odds are it's going to be a little bit warmer in Chapel Hill than it's going to be in.
Come on, who wants to go? You don't want to get to Ann Arbor? That's what I was going to say. You don't want to go to Ann Arbor or East Lansing in February? It sounds wonderful.
We got to wait to see who the first Big Ten baseball program is who builds a mini dome. They'd have a tremendous recruiting advantage.
It won't be Indiana, the furthest southern team in the Big Ten.
I'm sure they use that in recruiting. We're the furthest southern team.
Yeah, good luck with that as the snow falls outside right now. Indiana and Louisville, you have a piece that to discuss the interest levels in the teams as far as the football series. There's been talk in Indiana wanting to get out of that, but see on WDRB.com that on Monday there was a firm sign that the 2023 game will be played with both teams pushing ticket sales.
Yeah, you can buy tickets on the IUHoosiers.com for the game up in Lucas Oil on September 16th, and Louisville's made them available to its season ticket holders. So, that's a pretty clear sign the game will be played this year. I it's not been. There's no change to the contract at this point for the next 2 years, which is in Louisville in 2024 and at IU in 2025. But I think there will be ongoing discussions about changing that. Whether or not they reach any kind of agreement, I don't know. But I think that will continue to be discussed.
I'm wondering, Rick, if the Cincinnati game with Indiana made them think this about the Louisville game. They're like, you know what? I don't know that we need to have the Big Ten requires already that you play 9 conference games, which the SEC is 8. So
Right.
I'm sure
So
they
the
have to be
ACC.
thinking, do we need to add a 10th Big Ten game is what
don't.
they were doing. So,
They
and
don't.
Louisville with Jeff Brom is going to be that. So yes, I agree. They don't need that on the schedule.
I mean, they need
to win
we
instead.
talked about this. They need to schedule 3 wins. They do. I mean, you look at other programs that have raised themselves up from the struggling state that they've been in. Kansas State is the number one example of that, and they did it by schedule. Even Kentucky, when they were getting it going under Mark Stoops. Again, you're talking about a league where you only have 8 league games, and they're locked into play in Louisville. But the other 3 games they play, they're not playing any other, Power 5 team in a non-conference game. They're not doing it. They're playing a Mid-American team, a Sun Belt team, and maybe Eastern Kentucky or whatever. And Indiana needs to do that until they get the program built up. So then you win 3 non-conference games, and hopefully every year you can win at least 3 Big Ten games, and you start going to bowl games every year and winning some bowl games and building a little bit of buzz around your program.
That and the fact that Jeff Brom has gone 4-1 against Indiana.
He has.
And the last 2 years, they outscored him 74-23. All this is on WDRB.com, by the way. You can get that. So, yeah, I don't know. Indiana's had a good offseason, actually a much better offseason than I anticipated.
I agree.
In the portal, and not only this, I think that for the first time, in my opinion, which means nothing, Tom Allen the moves were kind of the right moves. The guys that he brought in were the right guys and the right hires. And where before there was always like, really? And there's been no really moments for me this offseason. I'm like, oh, okay, wow, okay. It's all been all right. So it's surprising, especially coming off that year, but it shows that they must be grinding.
Yeah, I mean, the track record of the offensive line coach came from Wisconsin is universally praised. So I think that was a good hire. I think he's got to go out and hire a safeties or a cornerbacks coach now because Jones is going to North Carolina. Is that correct? That was announced on Monday or Sunday night, I think. So you need to find another guy there. But yeah, the guys they got out of the portal seem to have some talent. To me, the biggest question about IU for next year is going to be, it's still quarterback. I mean, it's certainly hard to have a ton of confidence that Dexter is going to be able to play because that injury looked pretty severe. So that means you're going to go with an experienced guy, even though Taven Jackson was at Tennessee and practiced there. He played very little in games, so he's totally inexperienced. And Sorsby played very little. And the high school kid coming from Ohio is just a high school kid. And I think they got another guy out of the portal, a walk-on or something. But that's my big question. I mean, they don't have Peyton Ramsey. They don't have Michael Penix. They don't have Nate Sudfeld, taking snaps, and that's a big question.
We've got Rick Bozich from WDRB.com with us right now. When we come back, we're going to preview tonight's Indiana-Minnesota basketball game as the Hoosiers look to win their 4th consecutive Big Ten game. We're brought to you by our good friends from Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg. If you're down that way, stop in and see Dr. J to keep that championship smile. Keeps me going. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home in the... I must go get a cup of coffee.
Go for it.
A cup of coffee. Some of that hot brown water.
Where does Scott Rowland sit at the basketball games?
You know what? I don't know where they sit because he goes with Mike Ross, a friend of mine who owns
Endeavor. I don't know where they actually sit, but I'm going to imagine it ain't bad. I don't know exactly where it is. It's a great question. I need to ask Mike where they do sit. I always see them in the there's a suite, the 1820 suite.
Okay.
You know where that is?
No.
I'll take you there next time.
Okay.
All kinds of little hidden, there's all kinds of hidden little crooks and crannies at Assembly Hall, man, where they've been selling alcohol for years. It's fun.
On the ground floor?
Yeah. I won't tell you now because everybody can hear, but.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see him there. Then the women's game's tomorrow night, and they're hoping to sell the place out. I mean, they're fill the place, letting students in free. Is that right? He can't hear me.
I think every school should make students or should let students get in free. When I was at Western, that's how it was. And I mean, they brought in people for anything.
I mean, that's the biggest game tomorrow night in IU women's basketball.
I mean, I guess it makes sense for a program like Indiana. You can't just let all the students in free because then everybody will try to get in.
It would have been nice if they hadn't have lost to Iowa the other night, probably.
Yeah.
I wish, and I can't go to that damn game. I've got an event to go to in Evansville. I'm so pissed. I'm like, of all nights to pick, damn. But yeah, it would have been nice if they hadn't have lost to Iowa. Damn, Iowa's looking good right now. That's a big win on the road for them.
Yeah, it is. Indiana's still got to play Iowa twice and Ohio State twice, right?
Yep.
And do they play Michigan a second time in Assembly Hall? I don't know. They still haven't played Purdue yet either, right?
No, but I don't think they're much.
Metal Art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. We've hit the hump day. Brought to you by our good friends from Feast Market and Cellar, part of the Endeavor Hospitality Wild Club, located right next door to Southern Stone. Feast Market and Cellar with a extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff, as well as gourmet items to go along with that. Rick Bozich with us, and I'm glad you reminded me, Kevin. I mentioned at the top of the show, but Rick now a double Hall of Famer. I guess, is that the Indiana Sports Writers Sports Casters Association? Congratulations. Someone sent that to me yesterday, and I'm like going, you'd think that being a member of that association, I would have had that information, but I did not. And it was not given to me. I'm like going, what the hell? I'm like going, I didn't know about that, and I belong to that association. Congratulations.
I think they just released it well, thank you. They just released it yesterday afternoon, and very humbled, very appreciative. And, you know, my journey began in Gary. My journey began in Gary, Indiana, and then graduated from Maryville High School. Then went to IU, and I worked in Anderson with Mike Chappell. The great Mike Chappell gave me my first chance, and then I worked with Bob Hamill at the Bloomington paper for a while, and then I came down here. But even when I was down in Louisville, I've always covered a lot of IU stuff because I know the Clark, Floyd, Harrison, Orange, Scott County area is rabid IU country, and there's an audience for it. And so I feel like I'm part of the Indiana community.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. IU graduate as well. Don't forget that, folks. And so his other Hall of Fame is actually with the U.S. Basketball Writers Association, which is pretty big stuff. Former president of that as well. So again, congratulations on all of that. Indiana women's basketball, they are rolling. They've got the one loss that they got when Grace Berger was out, but we've got 3 Big Ten teams that are juggernauts. In Ohio State, who took their first loss at home to Iowa, who is 16-4 on the year right now. Ohio State now at 19-1. Indiana 17-1. You mentioned that game tomorrow night in Simon Scott Assembly Hall. This is a top 5 showdown, man. And this is going to be an incredible game. I'm upset that I can't be there. I've got a commitment in Evansville. But man, that they want to fill, like you said, they want to fill Assembly Hall for a women's game. They just had the highest ever attendance at just over 10,000 a week or so ago. And I think they might get it done. I don't know if they'll fill it up, but I bet you there's people in the balcony.
Yeah, part of it will probably depend on the weather and the road conditions and stuff. Hopefully it'll be okay. But yeah, they should. They just had a very impressive win at Michigan. Michigan's a good team. I think they averaged giving up 60 points a game, and would IU score like close to 90 on them? It was over 80.
Yeah. 91, I think.
Yeah, and Grace Berger is, getting a little bit stronger now that she's 2 weeks back from her knee situation. Mackenzie Holmes is playing, at a all Big Ten Player of the Year level. Chloe Moore McNeil's really good in all phases of the game. Sydney Parrish has settled in. Finally, they got Sarah Scalia to start hitting threes, which was the next piece they needed. So, yeah, I think at least they should set a record. I think the largest crowd they ever had was that one year when they won the women's NIT. They should have a bigger – it was over like 10,000. I think they should get – I agree with you. It should be close to being full. And Ohio State's good. And I don't know whether it's good or bad for Indiana that they lost that game. But when you're going for a conference championship, you got to hold serve at home.
Someone mentioned there that they've already played Iowa once. Dabney says they've already played Iowa once.
Really?
I'm trying to find that. Yeah, I'm trying to find that, but
I don't know if that's true. Maybe they have.
Pop that up there if somebody sees that. But they're used to big games, and I think that is a huge thing for this program now. They're used to these big games, and that's part of the reason why I think they're performing so well in them.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they went down to Tennessee earlier in the year. That was wise scheduling, and they won that game, so that tested them on the road. They play Iowa February 9th in Bloomington, and then they play Iowa the last regular season game in Iowa City, so they have not played Iowa yet. So I think they still have to go to Maryland, which is a good team they beat in Assembly Hall, and they're another top 15. The Big Ten has 4 top 15 teams, so and they're a fun team to watch because they shoot the ball, they share the ball. They're a good passing team. Terry Morin is. You talk about coaching jobs at IU. I mean, if she can sustain, she's built something where there was very little little interest, little tradition, little history of success, and she's built something, and she'll be remembered for it. And it looks like it's something that she can sustain. And she's done it the hard way. There have been a lot of good players in the state of Indiana that haven't wanted to come to IU. Now, fortunately for her, a couple of them, Allie Patberg after being at Notre Dame and Sydney Parrish after being at Oregon, figured out the second time around to go play for them and play for her. And I think that, the way she's done it is impressive.
On the men's side, Indiana tonight travels to Minnesota to take on the Golden Gophers in a game that puts a lot of weird pressure on because I hate to use the word must win. Yeah, but you can't lose to Minnesota. I don't care where you're playing them. You cannot lose to Minnesota. Yeah.
It's a bad loss. So, it would be their worst loss. Yeah, you can't, and that's a weird place to play. And like every Big Ten arena, people can think back to House of Horror nights up there. And the thing about Indiana, they've looked great the last 3 games, and they look really good against Michigan State because Galloway and Bates hit 8 out of 9 threes. That's probably not going to happen again. And Trace Jackson Davis is sort of slowing the Zach Edey Express for Big Ten Player of the Year. The way he keeps playing the way he's played the last 3 games, he deserves as much consideration as anybody as Big Ten Player of the Year.
I said that yesterday. He outplayed him in the month of January.
He did. I mean, his numbers are 28 and 12 in the last 3 games. That's what he's averaging, and he's passing the ball really well. One thing that I think I've read is that Minnesota's big man, Dawson Garcia, has a sprained ankle and is unlikely to play tonight. So this should be a game that Trace Jackson Davis,
He could score 40 if he wants.
he should bring it tonight and be effective. And the thing that I try and analyze, I believe that in some ways he's benefited from Race Thompson being out because the area around the lane is not as clogged now, and he's got more room to operate. He's more effective on the low block, and he's more effective on the high block and on the pick and rolls because it doesn't seem like the guy who usually guards Race is down there sagging off and making it
Especially
more
if Geronimo is in there. He's
Yeah.
got a lot more flexibility than Race does,
Yeah.
and it moves further out to the perimeter.
Yeah. And so I don't know. That's going to be interesting. And I was very impressed with Race Thompson's comments yesterday during his press conference. The one takeaway was like, hey, I don't expect to start Jordan has played well and earned the position, and I'm going to have to earn my minutes back, which is for a guy, for a sixth-year guy, that's really, that's the kind of stuff any team needs, is a guy to say that and believe that.
Yeah, because this team is needed to be more of a team. It seems like even early on, they were playing well, but they were playing as parts, individual parts. And now they seem to be playing not only together, but for each other. I've used the term a couple times in the pressers here of late, emotion. I have not seen emotion from this team all year until here recently. Right. And that is when you see that emotion, you know that you're locked in. Even Miller Kopp, not doing much else. He brought emotion, if nothing else. So he brought
on the
emotion.
Dove on the floor.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they've just got to defend the way they've been defending the last three games. And I was shocked when I was there on, you were there, I was there on Sunday, when I saw they were going to win by double digits. Like, that's their first 3-game winning streak in the Big Ten since 2018 or 19 when Romeo was there. I mean, that's hard to believe that they hadn't won 3 straight Big Ten games for that long. And I think that year they finished the regular season with 4 in a row. So that's also the last time. But if they do it by double figures, 4 straight double-figure wins in the Big Ten, it goes back longer than that.
And I expect this team to win 5 straight. On paper, you
they
look
should.
at it, they should win 5 straight. And I'm not saying that they can't beat Maryland, because Maryland's not been that good. But at home they have been. They're like 9-1 the last
they
I
lost.
checked.
They got blown up by UCLA, but they haven't been beat in conference at home yet.
And so that says a lot. So going there is going to be tough for Indiana, especially after winning 5 in a row. Your number comes up.
If Indiana wants to, get back in the race, and it's going to be a long shot, they got no margin for error anymore, but get back in the race for the Big Ten title, or at least get second place, and certainly to get a top 4 and get a double bye, they got to win these 2 games this week. I mean, they've already given up their margin for error by losing that game at Iowa that they gave away and losing at home to Northwestern. So they got to win these next 2 games and get back in the race. And if you look at Purdue's schedule, it's easier than Indiana's.
It is easier than anybody's. Nobody's catching Purdue. Right. No one is going to catch Purdue. That's
Purdue's their schedule's set up for Purdue to win the league. It really is. And I like Purdue. I'm not being a Purdue basher. Purdue's good. They deserve all the accolades they get. They're a very good team, but they've got a break in the schedule this year.
And they won the 2 games, I think, that's going to win the conference for them. The win against Michigan State and the win at Ohio State, those 2, and Nebraska for that matter, I guess.
Wasn't that OT, Nebraska?
Yeah. I mean, so those 3 games right there, that's going to win the league for them, because if they lose those 3 games, they're right in the mix with everybody. And this Big Ten is like the rest of the Big Ten right now, with everybody below it. And how about that? I don't. It's been a long time that I can remember where the Big Ten was this close. I think someone said yesterday there's 2 games difference between 2 and 12.
Yeah, I looked at Ken Palm when I was up at after the IU game was over on Sunday, and at that point he had the projected Big Ten standings for the end of the season. He had 8 teams at 10-10, and 2 others at 11-9. So that would have been, 10 of the 14 teams all within the same, same record or 1 game difference.
And normally that would be a bad thing, but when you see that many, you know that, damn, there's some parity there.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this for several years. The one thing the Big Ten need, and they need a team, I don't care who it is, to get to the Final Four. I mean, they really need a team to win the national championship because they haven't had one for so long. But they need to do better in the tournament than they've done the last couple of years. And they're good enough to, but they need to get a team into the Final Four for the prestige overall of the league.
What happens with this Indiana squad, which I know that's a crystal ball question, but if Xavier comes back, we've seen Race, they're trying to integrate him in. But I think it's a lot easier to integrate Race in than it's going to be to integrate Xavier in, because he brings such a different dynamic and he brings it at a different speed that this team is not playing at right now, but they look a little more comfortable in their offense right now.
Yeah. Race, although he came back Sunday, he really wasn't very effective and didn't play that many minutes. He only put him in, I think, in the second half because Geronimo.
That was more for PR, wasn't it?
Fouled. Yeah, I mean, Geronimo and Renew both fouled out, right? Or they both had, I know Geronimo fouled out, and I think Renew did too. That's why he came back in the second game.
If he didn't, I would be surprised. He usually does.
It'll be tough. I mean, I think you have to bring him off the bench and play him, a shorter amount of time. And he's a guard. He's been, unlike Race, he's been out a longer time. Unlike Race, so the conditioning is going to be a factor. Unlike Race, he's been in a boot and not been able to do some of the conditioning stuff, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure he's done some swimming or upper body cardio and stuff. And plus, there's going to be a comfort factor of if you've had a broken bone in your foot, and I believe that's what he had, of just going out there immediately and stressing it by pounding it and playing a bunch of minutes.
And the way he plays, he does not play softly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's making hard cuts.
Yeah, and the Geronimo, Galloway, and Bates trio, it's worked pretty well. And CJ Gunn, although his shot's still not going down, he does contribute on defense, and I just think he needs to hit a few and get some of his confidence. He's got the earmarks of being a good shooter, and hopefully Johnson would have the same kind of mental view of things as Race, and of saying it's really not about, it's not the Xavier Johnson show, it's the Indiana basketball show, and what can he do to to enhance their chances to have success in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament, because that's really where he can contribute. I have a hard time believing he's going to be able. When's he possibly going to be back? Early March?
You know what? All it is conjecture. You've heard late February, which to me means early March, basically. Which how good of a time is that to bring in someone that has not been playing, and especially when you have had a turnaround. Because to have that turnaround, it took changes, and so changes were made. And now they've been going in a direction that they're going, playing how they're playing. And I don't know what it would be like to insert, like I said, he plays at such a different speed that there's no way that I don't see that setting the apple cart.
Right. He's still in the boot. I mean, he's not close to coming back at this point. So yeah, I agree. I mean, just develop the group you have going now. I mean, it's been a long time since Indiana's beaten Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan State all by double figures. So,
and you talk about developing players. This has forced Indiana to develop players that they weren't really developing. Trey Galloway is going to be one of the great all-around players for this team in the next couple of years. He is gaining so much invaluable experience handling the ball. Now he's starting to look for a shot, score the ball, playing defense. He's doing a little bit of everything, and he's doing it better each game.
Yeah, the two things I really have noticed about Galloway is, one, when he's open, he's not hesitating to shoot the three. And obviously he made him against Michigan State, so that was a big contribution. And the second thing is we don't see as much as what we saw the first 2 years, is when he would drive the ball, full speed ahead down to the baseline and get up in the air with the ball and not know what he was going to do with it and then throw it and oftentimes make a turnover. He's not doing that as much. More of his drives are into the middle of the court, and he knows what he's doing with the ball. So that's just from the experience he's gained of playing more against this level. And he's always been, an engaged defender. He really is. And because he has size, that makes him valuable. He can guard a variety of different guards. And Bates has always been an enthusiastic shooter, and for him to make 5 in one game like that, including that one ridiculous one where the ball got batted back to him and he just was 5 feet behind the line and just jacked it up and it went in. Confidence goes a long way. It's unrealistic to expect him to shoot 5 for 6 from 3 every night. What I want to see Bates become better at is, making your teammates better. They need more guys. If you could get Bates to run some pick and roll with Trace Jackson Davis too, in addition to Jalen Hood Shafino, so you have multiple options on that, makes the offense more fearsome.
Yeah, because Bates is a very athletic guy, kind of a Troy Williams-esque type body, and ability of being able to be out on the perimeter, but slash to the rim from out there as well. What's up next for you, Rick? Oh, go ahead.
He threw that pass to Trace Jackson Davis, that long run out pass. So that was an impressive assist he had against the Spartans. I'll be watching IU and Louisville tonight. Louisville plays at Boston College. It's one of they're 0-8 in the ACC. Their times, getting short to get a conference win. So they got Boston College and Notre Dame this week. I'll be watching IU too when they play Minnesota, and just getting ready for next week. I'll be up there, not for the Ohio State game, but I'll be back for the Purdue game. So next week with Indiana getting ready to play Purdue, we'll have a lot to talk about.
Quickly, U of L having the season they're having.
Mm-hmm.
I look back at Indiana in 2008. You were there for both.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Why Indiana had no talent, way less talent, and had more success? Not a lot. But it seemed like even though they only won 6 games, but it seemed like I don't know, were they as bad as this Louisville team is that has way more talent on it?
This Louisville team is one of the worst teams handling the ball I've ever seen. I wrote about it today at WDRB.com. They're last in the country in assists, averaging less than 8 a game. The last 2 games they've had 6 assists, so that's 12 total, and 9 of them have been by the point guard, L. Ellis. So you got 3 or 4 guys on the floor that aren't doing anything to help their teammates get good shots. I mean, I don't know. It's just really been a strange year. Their guard play has not been good. They got at Boston College, at Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Florida State at home. The next 4 games are their 4 chances to win. If they don't win one of the next 4, it's going to be quite interesting around here.
What are they averaging? About 10,000 people a game?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe 11. They had a nice crowd for Carolina when they were in here, 14,000. But yeah, people are, after a while, it's just awkward for everybody. I mean, the players, it's hard on them. It's hard on the fans. It's hard on the media. After a while, what do you say about a team that is struggling like that?
Is the U of L women outdrawing the men?
I think so, but they're not having a great year either. They're not in the top 25 this year for a while. They're good. They're going to be in the tournament, but
that says something that they're not their normal selves and they're still outdrawing them.
Yeah. No, it's been tough.
Rick Bozich, cannot thank you enough, my friend.
Right,
I hope you have a great day. Congratulations again.
All right, thank you.
The ISSA Hall of Fame, man.
All right. Stay
Rick
safe
Bozich from WDRB.com. Make sure you give him a follow. If you're not, you're nuts. Brought to you by our good friends from Metalworks Brewing Company. Heck yeah, man. Metalworks, they enjoy their craft metalwork and craft beers here in Bloomington. You can find them at all the Endeavor Hospitality restaurants as well, located just off the square. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
All right. I've got your question for race as well as the follow-up that Zach Osterman asked.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. What is that, velvet? You don't know
I
that
know
either.
I've heard that. I know I've heard it. What's it from?
Coming to America.
Okay, gotcha.
They're in the barbershop,
Yeah.
and I think he's a white Jewish guy. They're all sitting there playing checkers. I've got one of those hats. That's beautiful. What is that, velvet? He's rubbing the tiger. It's a tiger. He's rubbing the tiger mane that he's wearing.
That's funny.
That's one of my favorite movies from you talk about lines for days.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch the sequel?
It sucked.
That's what I've heard.
It was the same damn movie. They didn't. Yeah, it was terrible. The first one was awesome. Exactly. Jim C agrees with Jim B. Not only it wasn't as good, it sucked. You know, only for certain ones, but it's weird how certain movies have stood out that have great lines. Caddyshack, Smokey and the Bandit. Part of it is, though, when I was rodeoing, we would have long drives, so we would just stick a movie in the laptop, and you don't watch it as much as listen to it, but you hear those movies a lot, man. You played the same ones over and over. Smokey and the Bandit was a favorite on a rodeo road, I can tell you that. You talk about some of my favorite. Randy Watson. How about a ham? Randy Watson. There you go. Randy Watson. You might know him from this was funny. You might know him from the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama. I'm like on the That's Going Down episode of That's My Mama. Yes. Give yourself a round of applause. If you haven't watched that movie, Life is another one. It's an Eddie Murphy movie. That's funny as hell.
All right, 30 seconds. And yeah,
Randy Watson.
Race clips. And we'll be good to go. Finish up at 11 o'clock.
Local and organic food is their main focus. Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
JTP got us funked up today as the snow is falling in central Indiana. Hope you're warm and dry wherever you are. Appreciate you, everybody listening. Appreciate our peeps down on the ref. WREF, always the right call. ESPN in Evansville. WBRO. And damn it, I meant to tell Rick, because he's from the region, that starting Monday, we'll be on WJRB up there in the region, talking to everybody up there. Damn it. Forgot to tell you, because he reminded me that, and I even wrote it down. But too much to get to. Too much to talk about. Indiana taking on the Golden Gophers tonight in I'll call it a must-win. It's a must-win only because you can't lose to Minnesota, like I said a minute ago. It's not like they've lost 3 straight, Indiana. It's just can't lose to this team. You were tied with them 3 games ago. You were tied with Minnesota at 1-4 for last in the Big Ten. Indiana is no longer in last in the Big Ten. They are now, what did I say? 1, 2, is this? Let me see if this is updated because there were games last night. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6. Now they're in a 3-way tie for 7th at the moment. If they win tonight, they will enter into a 3-way tie for 5th. So moving up the ladder, but that shows you how quickly things change. This team was last in the Big Ten 3 games ago, people. Last, next to Minnesota. But we all know that they're a much better team than that. But they have to continue to show that. They have got to go on the road, just take care of business. Take care of business, and then you come back home to play an Ohio State team that is good enough to beat you, has been very inconsistent, and not very good on the road. Ohio State 1-5 on the road. So Indiana is looking at a very, very good opportunity of winning 5 straight Big Ten games. And I'm going to have to get into the book and study to see when the last time that happened was. I won't get that done today or right now for certain, but they're on the precipice of that. And after that, they have to go play at Maryland, who is one of the 4th in the bottom 4 of the conference, because they are 3-5 in conference play. They're 1-5 on the road, but at home they're 9-1, which is where that game will take place in Landover. Or College Park, rather. So lots of exciting stuff going, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be this Big Ten season is just going to be fun just to watch it play out. Games coming up tonight. Wisconsin is at Maryland. So there you go. We'll test that. Maryland 9-1 at home with the Badgers coming in. And where are the Badgers? Let's see. Move that. Wisconsin, oh, they're right in the middle. They're tied with Indiana right now at 4-4. So we'll see what happens with that game. Also on tonight's docket, Northwestern, the exciting Northwestern at Nebraska. And, that could actually be a good game. Northwestern needs to win that game to stay in contention, although they are currently sitting in 4th place in the Big Ten. That's right. I'll repeat that. Northwestern is currently sitting at 4th place in the Big Ten at 4-3, 13-5 overall. They've got a tournament resume right now, so they need to win that game. Maryland does not have a tournament resume right now. They're 12-7. They're 3-5 in conference play. They're going to have to turn things around if they have dreams of making the NCAA tournament. So that'll be a interesting game to keep an eye on tonight. That one is at both of those 2 games are at 7:00. Wisconsin at Maryland's on the Big Ten Network. Northwestern at Nebraska is on Fox Sports 2. And then Indiana at Minnesota at 9:00 on BTN. Boy, that's going to be a late one. So there's that. Yesterday, Race Thompson met with us ahead of this game after getting his first action in several weeks after hurting his knee at Iowa. John Boy, what's oh yeah, I'm trying to remember what I asked Race.
You asked me. Go ahead.
Yeah, during his time, he was forced to be on the bench. It's a different perspective when you're sitting on the bench, knowing you're not going in. And I loved how I asked him, what did you learn? What did you see? What did you see in the difference? What when the difference that happened between this team? What did you see happen, etc.? Here's what Race had to say, and then there's
I would just say the fight in practice, the intensity they have when going through scouts, and the intensity they had going into all these games. When I've been out, since we started winning the last couple of games, the intensity's picked up. The focus has been better, and then again, just competing in practice every day. I think it's making everybody better, and then Yeah, I think that's really it.
You know, my first question, if I could ask a rebuttal to that, would have been, well, why wasn't the focus there? Why wasn't the intensity there? Because did you not know you had a game? Yep. Did you not know that they keep records of these things? So I that's one thing, because we hear those answers a lot. Oh, well, we had a great game plan, but we just didn't follow it. Why? Why did you not follow it? Did you think you could win without it? Did you think you had a better chance without it? We don't get to ask those questions because they would make us sound like we're being jerks, but you don't get the answer to the question you ask. And it is a little mind numbing sometimes, but there was a follow-up question to race. I don't know what was asked, John.
Zach had asked him just what went through his mind after the injury. Talks a little bit about how he thought could have been the end.
Yeah, I remember that and I do remember it was a great question because I remember at the time when this injury happened, it looked like he knew his time was done. It's just like it looked like he knew that this was a bad injury when it wasn't as bad as he thought. But yeah, he felt, you could tell. But let's hear him talk about it instead.
Yeah, I mean, when it first happened, I thought it was pretty much over with. The way it felt, the way I knew it looked, I pretty much thought that my career was a wrap. And then thankful for the Iowa trainers, Timmy G, giving me MRIs quick, getting all the results back, and then just a lot of treatment, and I'm able to run around feeling better every day now.
I can imagine, yeah. So glad to see it's not. He is back a little sooner than I expected him to be, but I'm not going to say they rushed him back, but I'm not sure he was ready to be effective. Maybe it was just a need, but I'm like, man. So, but I'm sure his play will pick up, and that will give Indiana another weapon, hopefully. If you're listening to us on YouTube, by the way, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. We appreciate you all so much. But it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight, especially we talked about Minnesota maybe being thin inside. Does Indiana use this as an opportunity to rest Trace Jackson Davis? I don't mean by not play, but I mean, instead of him playing 35 minutes and scoring 30 points, if they're able to have their way, is this an opportunity to get Trace Jackson Davis some rest, and get some more minutes for guys that need to get more minutes. Philip pointing out that 4 of the 8 Big Ten wins for Purdue are Nebraska and Minnesota. Yeah, they've been gifted.
They've already played both twice.
Probably. Well, who knows?
Indiana hasn't played anybody twice yet, have they?
No.
Wow.
Not to my knowledge. No, because they've only played 8 games. So they haven't even played half their schedule yet in the Big Ten. So we'll see how that rolls around. Like I said, tonight it's a late one, babe. It's a late one. At 9:00 tonight, we'll be there checking it out. Let's see. What else do you have, John Boy?
That's about it in terms of we didn't hear from Mike Woodson on preview or anything like that. So
right. Well, that was from the day before, but yeah, Mike, Logan Duncombe, he needs some minutes. Yeah, it would be nice to see him. I think they need to rest Trace Jackson Davis, but because he's been playing a lot of time, he doesn't get a lot of rest, but we'll see, especially being a late game. And then you've got an opportunity to hit that 5-game winning streak.
with Ohio State coming up this weekend. If they get past Minnesota tonight, don't put the cart before the horse, of course. No pun intended. Looking forward to checking that out tonight, along with the rest of the action that's going on.
1 minute.
Cannot wait to what is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday. I'm trying to get K-Bro on tomorrow.
I think K-Bro is going to do Friday, actually, because we're going to be a little shorthanded on guests on Friday. One of our people won't be able to make it. Has that person reached out to you yet, Jimbo?
I'm not even sure what you're talking about, but we'll talk about that one afterwards. We'll check it out. We'll see. But tomorrow, of course, Chris Nari will be along, Matt Taylor, and let's see. Who else?
Kyler Staley.
Kyler Staley as well from thehoosier.com, as we will. And, of course, complete coverage of tonight's Indiana at Minnesota game, complete with post-game comments from the coaches and players as well. But big thanks to everybody on the program today, especially Coach Dusty May from Florida Atlantic, 19-1, ranked in the top 25 of the country. Continued success, which to him is thanks to Kyle Neddenriep, of course, from the Indy Star, who always joins us. Make sure you give him a follow. And Rick Bozich, the double Hall of Famer now, as always, our good friends. Looking forward to doing it again tomorrow, peeps. And until then, thanks to John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. Until then, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.